You're not here to command reality, but to discover how it commands you wiser than you ever could. Michael Singer. Underneath all your attempts to hold everything together, there's something you don't want to admit. The more you try to grip your life with full control, the faster it starts to fall apart. You call it responsibility, planning, structure. But if we're honest, it's fear. Fear of chaos, fear of collapse, fear of losing yourself. So you organize, predict, overthink, constantly prepare. You plan for every possible scenario, trying to eliminate uncertainty. But instead of peace, you feel tension. Instead of clarity, there's exhaustion. You try to take full control and slowly lose yourself in the process. No one ever told you this clearly, but you need to hear it now. Those who try to control their life completely end up destroying it completely. Not because they're doing something wrong, not because they're weak or broken, but because they're terrified of letting go. Because control has become their only defense against the unknown. They think surrender means failure. They think letting life lead means being irresponsible. But life doesn't work like that. It doesn't follow your calendar. It doesn't adjust to your expectations. And the more you try to force it into a shape, the more it pushes back. That's why you feel stuck. Why you're always tired. Why nothing works long term. Because deep down, you're not living. You're managing. You're not flowing. You're gripping. You're not feeling. You're calculating. You're not present. You're surviving. And the worst part is, it's not even your fault. You were raised in a world that worships control. A world that says, take charge, stay strong, never stop. No one taught you how to slow down, how to feel, how to trust, how to move with life, not against it. You control because you never learned how to feel safe. Somewhere deep inside, there's still a child who had to grow up too early, who learned that chaos is dangerous and structure is survival, who figured out that controlling everything was the only way to avoid pain. And now, as an adult, that child is still in charge. You just gave it different names: structure, discipline, maturity, but the fear is still there. Just hidden, just quieter, just more socially acceptable. Here's the hard truth. Control is not power. Control is fear in disguise. It's the body trying to stay alive without ever feeling. It's the mind trying to protect you from the very thing that might set you free. Control is a prison you build with good intentions. But no matter how beautiful the walls, it's still a prison. And life doesn't fit inside those walls. It demands presence. It demands surrender. It demands that you feel. And when you stop trying to dominate it, you finally get to meet it. Not as an enemy, but as a mirror. Here's the paradox no one tells you. The moment you stop trying to control everything is the moment things begin to change. When you stop forcing and start listening, clarity emerges. When you stop reacting and start feeling, energy returns. When you stop managing and start trusting, life begins to move through you, not against you. But not everyone is ready for this, because letting go looks like weakness until you try it. And then you realize it's the most courageous thing you've ever done. But here's the good news. You're not alone in this. If you're still here, if something in these words feels real, then it means you're already ready. Ready to stop gripping. Ready to start listening. Ready to stop pretending you're in control of everything and start connecting with what's actually alive in you. If these words are hitting something inside you, subscribe to the channel. More people deserve to hear the truth that's been hidden for too long. And if you already know this is about you, join the Telegram. That's where we speak the things therapy's too scared to say out loud. And if you recognized yourself here, write in the comments, "I no longer control the pain." Let's see how many of us are here, the ones learning to trust life again. Most people don't realize it, but control is a form of addiction, not in the chemical sense, but in the psychological one. You reach for it when you feel discomfort. You use it to numb anxiety. You cling to it when reality starts slipping out of your hands. And just like any addiction, the more you rely on it, the more it robs you of freedom. The irony is brutal. The more you try to control life, the more out of control you feel inside. You wake up tired. You overthink simple things. You can't relax even when nothing is wrong. Because in your system, rest is not safe. Only vigilance feels normal. Constant control becomes your baseline. And slowly, you forget what it's like to simply exist without tension. You've probably tried to fix this. Therapy, books, journaling, meditation, and for a while, it seems to work. Until something unpredictable happens. Someone cancels on you, a project fails, someone gets sick, something shifts. And just like that, the anxiety returns. Not because you did something wrong, but because the root was never control. It was fear of uncertainty. And no book or meditation will remove that fear if you're still feeding it by trying to plan every moment of your life. That's the part no one wants to admit. You can't heal the fear of losing control by learning to control better. You heal it by learning how to lose control and still stay present. The system lied to you. Self-help culture lied to you. All those promises that said, "Become the master of your life," they never told you the cost. Because mastery without surrender is just another form of fear. They sold you discipline without softness, goals without intuition, vision without flexibility. And so, you became a machine. One that performs well, but doesn't feel alive. You followed all the rules. You did everything right. But deep inside, something still felt off. That emptiness wasn't failure. It was a signal, a sign that your soul wasn't made to be managed. It was made to be moved. No one told you how to hold paradox, how to be responsible but not rigid, how to be focused but not forceful, how to have goals without controlling the journey. So now you live in a split. Part of you wants to let go, the other part panics at the thought. That tension is what keeps you stuck, pulled between effort and surrender, action and trust. The problem is not that you don't try hard enough. The problem is that you try too hard to control things that were never meant to be controlled in the first place. Other people, outcomes, timing, emotions, the unknown. The real strength isn't in forcing everything to go your way. It's in having the inner stability to respond to whatever comes. That doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean being passive. It means shifting your focus from "how do I control this?" to "how do I relate to this?" That shift changes everything. Because now your power comes from presence, not panic. You stop reacting from fear and start responding from awareness. You stop trying to fix the wave and you start learning how to surf it. Think of the most painful things that ever happened to you. How many of them were under your control? How many came uninvited, without warning, when you least expected? And yet, you're still here. You survived. You adapted. You grew. Not because you had everything figured out, but because some deeper part of you responded when life broke your plans. That part wasn't built through control. It was revealed through surrender. That's who you really are. Not the one who controls, the one who responds, the one who feels, the one who allows. Let that part take the lead. even if just for a moment. You don't have to control every step, just the next one, just today, just this breath. Life will meet you in the space you stop trying to dominate. And when it does, you'll realize you were never supposed to hold it all together. You were meant to feel it, live it, move with it, not master it. Walk with it. Let it move you. That's not failure, that's freedom. There's a massive difference between chaos and surrender, but most people confuse them. They think that if they stop controlling everything, everything will fall apart. That if they don't constantly push, chase, plan, then life will become a mess. So they live in a state of constant alertness, trying to prevent collapse. But what they don't see is that the collapse is already happening inside. The anxiety, the tight chest, the inability to sleep deeply, the need to always have a backup plan, that's not order. That's internal chaos pretending to be control. And it never ends. Because the more control you chase, the more fragile everything feels. You start needing rules for your rules, plans for your plans, and slowly life becomes one long checklist you never get to finish. But surrender is not about giving up. It's not passivity. It's intelligence. It's the choice to stop resisting what's already here. It's the ability to say, I don't know what's coming, but I'm here for it. It's not about letting life happen to you blindly. It's about walking with it consciously. Surrender means accepting what you can't change and acting clearly on what you can. That's the sweet spot most people miss. They think it's either full control or complete chaos. But there's a third path, conscious surrender, where you stay awake, where you take responsibility, but not beyond your actual power. Look around. How much of your stress comes from things you can't influence at all? Global problems, someone else's choices, imagined futures. What if you stopped spending all that energy on what's out of reach and brought it back to your actual life? Not the fantasy life, not the future one, the one that's happening right now, the breath you're taking, the body you're in, the space you're sitting in. That's where your power is, not in predicting what will happen 5 years from now, but in choosing how you show up today, not in controlling the world, but in being present to it. You were not designed to carry the whole picture. You were meant to move one step at a time, but control doesn't allow that. It demands the full map. It wants guarantees. It wants insurance against pain. But pain is not the enemy. Pain is a message, a call to stop, to feel, to listen. And when you do, you begin to realize that most of your suffering didn't come from life itself, but from your resistance to it, from trying to change what couldn't be changed, from gripping when you should have opened, from forcing when you should have paused. Letting life guide you doesn't mean doing nothing. It means listening deeply, acting with clarity, being willing to change direction when it's time. It means moving not from fear, but from alignment. It's about developing a different kind of strength, not the strength to overpower life, but to cooperate with it, not the strength to control others, but to be honest with yourself, not the strength to avoid pain, but to meet it without breaking. That's maturity, that's power, and most of all, that's freedom. You don't need to master the whole story, just the page you're on, just this moment, just this choice. And if you can bring presence here now, then life will take care of the next thing. It always does. But only when you stop trying to write the script and start listening to the deeper rhythm underneath. You'll still act, you'll still plan, but it will come from a different place. Not from fear, not from control, from presence, from clarity, from trust. That's how life starts flowing again. And that's when things begin to truly change. Most people try to heal through control. They think that if they analyze enough, prepare enough, talk enough, the pain will disappear. But pain doesn't respond to logic. Pain responds to presence, and control kills presence. You can't be fully here if your mind is constantly trying to calculate the safest way forward. You can't feel deeply if your nervous system is scanning for threats. That's why so many people stay stuck. Not because they're not trying, but because they're trying to heal from the same place that created the wound. The part of you that's obsessed with control is often the part that's terrified of feeling what's really there. Grief, shame, helplessness, rage. So instead of feeling, you plan. Instead of breathing, you fix. Instead of pausing, you rush. But healing doesn't happen through control. It happens through contact. You don't need more plans. You need more honesty. You need to meet the parts of you you've been avoiding. The parts that say, I don't know what to do. The parts that feel messy, uncertain, scared. Those parts don't need solutions. They need connection. And connection only happens when you stop managing your experience and start being with it. That's where your real work begins, not in doing more, but in controlling less. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is stop. Not collapse, not quit, just stop forcing. Let yourself feel what's under all the tension. Let yourself rest. Let yourself not know. That's not failure. That's the start of actual healing. When you're no longer trying to be perfect, when you're no longer chasing certainty, when you're no longer trying to outsmart life, that's when something deeper can finally reach you. And that's when you realize what you were chasing through control was never safety. It was connection. And that starts inside. Behind the need to control is a deep, often hidden belief. If I don't control this, everything will fall apart, including me. That belief doesn't come from nowhere. It's rooted in early moments where you felt helpless, where things spun out of control and no one came to help. In those moments, you made a silent decision. Next time, I'll be ready. I'll never let this happen again. And from that decision, control became a survival strategy. It gave you a sense of power in a world that felt unpredictable. But here's the hard truth. What protected you back then is now suffocating you. Because the same strategies that kept you safe are now keeping you stuck. This is why you sabotage things, why you start projects and don't finish, why you stay in relationships that don't serve you, why you don't rest even when you're tired. It's not laziness, it's not weakness, it's self-protection. If you stay in control, you avoid disappointment. If you hold back, you avoid rejection. If you never slow down, you avoid the feelings that come when everything gets quiet. But avoiding isn't healing. Holding on isn't safety. And pretending you've got it all under control doesn't bring peace. It brings more fear, just hidden under layers of performance. To change this, you don't need to become stronger. You need to become softer in the right places. You need to meet the part of you that still believes everything depends on you. You need to remind yourself, gently, clearly, that you're no longer that child who had to manage it all alone. That now you get to choose a different way. Not one built on fear, but on trust. Not a fantasy of control, but a reality of connection. That's how patterns start to break. Not through force, through honesty, through presence, through choice. Real trust in life doesn't mean sitting back and hoping things work out. It means acting from a deeper place. Not fear, not panic, not the urge to control, but from clarity. Most people confuse trust with passivity, thinking that if they let go, they'll lose everything. But trust isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing the right things from the right state. When you're grounded, you act with intention instead of reaction. You move because it's aligned, not because you're terrified of standing still. And that shift changes everything. Your energy stops leaking into overthinking and starts moving into real action. Not forced action, but honest, clear, steady movement. You can see this shift in people who've lived through deep breaking points. People who lost jobs, homes, relationships, and instead of forcing the pieces back into place, they stopped, they listened, they allowed, and slowly, life reorganized itself in a way they never could have planned. Not because they were lucky, but because they stopped getting in the way. They learned to respond instead of control. They didn't give up. They gave space. And in that space, life moved again. One man told me how he fought for years to keep a career that was killing him indeed. He stayed because it made sense on paper. Status, money, certainty. But his body was shutting down. Burnout, insomnia, panic attacks, and one day, he couldn't push anymore. So he stopped. Not because he had a plan, not because he knew what was next, but because something inside him said, "This isn't it." In the months that followed, he didn't try to force clarity. He rested, he listened, and clarity found him. Not all at once, but enough to take one step, then another. That's what it looks like when life begins to lead. Not magical thinking, not spiritual bypass, just presence, choice, and courage, without the need to control it all. The real work isn't in total control, and it's not in letting go of everything either. Both extremes keep you trapped. When you try to control every detail, you live in exhaustion. When you abandon all responsibility, you lose yourself. And neither one is truly alive. Life always happens in the middle. Balance isn't about always knowing what to do. It's about knowing when to act and when to allow, when to pause and when to move. And this isn't something you figure out once. It's a daily practice of listening, because life is not static, and neither are you. The key practice that changes everything is the internal check-in. Every time you feel the urge to take full control of a situation, ask yourself, am I acting from trust or from fear? If it's trust, keep going. If it's fear, pause. Give yourself space. Come back to your body, to what's real, to what's now. And only then, choose your next step. This one simple pause, this moment of asking, helps you separate a true decision from a panic response. Over time, you'll start seeing how often you are acting not out of clarity, but out of anxiety. And that awareness will bring freedom. You'll stop being a slave to the urge to fix everything. This balance, to act without forcing, to listen without disappearing, to choose without controlling others, to trust without losing yourself. This is the real strength, not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the one that stands in the middle of chaos and doesn't collapse, because it knows, I don't need to hold everything, I just need to hold myself. And that's enough. When I'm in contact with myself, I'm in contact with life. And then life stops pushing back. It starts moving with me. Because I'm no longer fighting reality, I'm part of it. You don't have to be a superhero or a victim. There's a third path, to be fully alive. And that takes daily choice. Not to prove, not to rescue, not to control, not to escape, but to feel, to listen, to trust, to act from within. Small steps, without the desperate need to know what's next. You won't see the result right away, but one day you'll wake up and notice, I'm not living in tension anymore. I'm not pretending, I'm just here, and that's more than enough. If this resonated, subscribe to the channel. The algorithm will show it to others who are already on the edge but don't know what to reach for. And if you know you need more of this space, join the Telegram. That's where we stop pretending. No fake positivity, just truth. If this video shifted something in you, write in the comments, "I accept my shadow." Write it not for me, for yourself, as a choice, as a step, as a beginning, because this is only the beginning.